Thank you for joining us in the Zoom today. I think we have some new people today. This is a pre-session. This part is a pre-session sharing and discussion. Thank you, Mary Ann, again for joining us. So typically, when we begin a discussion, we try to open a few minutes early for people to come in and review last week's lesson and to share if they have learned anything. Okay. For those of you who have joined us for the first time, let me see who's still here. Okay, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I guess I'm just gonna really quickly review what we did last week. Okay. Let me see who else is in the Zoom with us. Currently, we have 5 people. Let me turn on my chat. So, does anybody want to share what they've learned? Or maybe I should just go real quick what we talked about last week, and then if you have any lesson that you have learned, you can share it, okay? So this sharing, this philosophy, this teaching, so to speak, is basically a course to raise the level of inner awareness. Okay, each of us, we have an inner awareness. We have a perception about life. And the purpose is to raise our inner awareness so that we can create peace and happiness for ourselves. Health, okay? Peace, health, happiness. And this sharing, this course is a 21-day roadmap, kind of like a journey. And when you go on a journey, it is helpful to have a roadmap that guide you step by step so that you don't get lost. And so this sharing has a 21-day format, 21 session, each session about 2 or 3 hours long, okay, for a total of about 60 hours. And there's a promise that at the end of that 60 hours, we will have raised your inner awareness about yourself, about other people, about life in general, such that you will experience a transformed life, a life that is healthy and happy. Okay, that is the purpose that we have generated for this sharing. Now we begin with the idea that each of us begin as like a little person inside a shell, kind of like a little baby chicken inside a shell. And the only way that we can grow to become a bigger, more mature person, a wiser person, a healthier and happier person, is through a process of transformation that require us to break out of this little shell. Okay, and these shells are represented by what we call self-limiting self-awareness. Each of us will have a certain awareness about ourselves. Those awareness limits our ability to fully grow and mature and become a person that is an owner of our own life and destiny. Okay, so these self-limiting self-awareness includes self-trivialization. We think of ourselves as just ordinary people, nothing really important. We fear failure, so we don't really try. We fear criticism and judgment from other people, so we don't take risks, we don't try. We perceive ourselves as having lack of means, not enough money, not enough time to study, not enough willpower, so to speak. And at the same time, there are perception of lack of knowledge. I don't know how to get better. The lack of means and lack of knowledge are just perception, because there are people who have less means than we do. There are people who have less money. There are people who have less health. There are people who don't even have the same amount of body part that we do. They have no arms and legs. They have no eyes and ears. Yet there are people who can achieve extraordinary things. okay, because they do not allow themselves to be limited by these lack of meaning and lack of knowledge. And last one that we touched on is the lack of future vision. If tomorrow looks the same as today, then tomorrow is going to be the same as today. It's not going to change. If next week look the same as last week, then next week is not going to be any different than last week. So in order for us to grow, to become a more mature, healthier, happier, wiser person, we need to be able to have a future vision of what we want to be in the future. And the idea of transformation is the idea of breaking through. So if this represent, us as being a little chicken inside the egg, if external forces was to break the shell, if the shell were to be broken by external forces, that usually means somebody's trying to cook the egg, right? In the morning when you make breakfast, you break the shell of the egg so that you can cook the egg. That is like the social pressure, peer pressure, external influences, challenges in life that forces us to transform, okay? Each of us have gone through phases or times in our lives where external pressure, challenges, forced us to become bigger and better than who we are. We become a bigger person, we learn, and we are not the same anymore. But that is external forces. And we had to change in order to adapt to the outside world. We had to adapt to the social pressure. On the other hand, if we were to break out from the inside out, if we were to proactively break out from inside the shell, then we can grow. Just like the little chicken becomes little chick becomes a chicken, it is life, right? It is a life form. We grow and we take ownership of our life as opposed to being food for society. Okay. So I'm very grateful for those of you who have taken the time to join the Zoom today. I'm honored by your presence. Your sharing, your learning, it helped me transform as well. Okay. Excuse me for a moment. Okay. So that is introduction. Okay. So this 21-day course is designed to help us remove these barriers so that we can grow and become a more mature and healthier person. Okay. And we think of these 6 chains as 6 somewhat limiting self-awareness. It's sort of like the 6th chain that is holding back a rocket ship. Imagine you have a rocket ship that you want to fly out into space, and these 6 chains are holding you down. And as soon as you can cut all of the chains, then the rocket ship can fly really far, really high. Okay. Not so long ago, maybe about a year ago, I was living in much worse condition than I do now. I was living in darkness in terms of health, physical health, mental health, financial health, and my relationship with my wife and my son and my family weren't all that great until I came across this knowledge, the knowledge that I'm about to share with you. And after just about a year of studying and practicing, I have experienced a much better, much richer relationship with my wife and my son, with my parent. My physical health has improved, and obviously my mental health has improved as well. Okay, so in order to best, help all of us get through the course in such a way that is, that is helpful, we need to understand some foundational concept. And there's a concept of a flow, a current, a river, so to speak. The river represents the universal principles and natural law that direct our lives. Our life represents the boat. Okay, the current has a flow. Universal principles and natural law has a certain direction, certain way. And our boat, if we go with the current, then we can easily get where we want in life. We just follow the laws and obey the principles of nature, and we'll get to where we want in life. On the other hand, we can go against the flow, and many of us try to do that. We work very hard. We put out a lot of effort in life. We pay the price with money, we pay the price with time, we pay the price with effort, and oftentimes we even experience losses and suffering. If pain and suffering wasn't enough to cause us to grow, it is often the greater pain and the suffering that have forced us to grow. And that is because we have been going against universal principles and natural laws that we don't even know about. And so the idea is that if you want to get where you want in life, let's say you want physical health, let's say you want strong mental health, let's say you want a happy, harmonious relationship with your spouse, your children, your parent. Let's say you want to achieve financial freedom. Then how can you live in such a way that you can get those things without having the price to pay the price of pain and suffering and loss? Okay, so that's the idea of a current. There are universal principles and natural law running like a current through our lives. And all we have to do is go with the current, paddle a little bit of effort will get us even faster. So instead of paying the price by going against the current, you can go against the current, you can pay the price and still get what you want, right? There's the idea of no pain, no gain. You can pay with pain and you will gain what you want. But the moment that you let go, then the current will carry you back where you were before and you would lose what you have gained. Okay, so that's the idea of universal principles and natural law. And so we ask, what are some universal principles and natural laws that are directing our lives? Okay, so we come to the idea of causality. Okay, causality, cause and effect. Every cause, there's an effect. The effect is like the final outcome. The cause are like the seed that we have planted, right? In the physical world, these are the three, how do you say, aspects of life that tend to dominate, our experience. There's the physical law, the physical world. Causality direct the physical world. If we use the example of a fruit, for example, the mango fruit, if the final outcome is to eat of mango fruit, and you want the mango fruit to be the one that you planted in the garden, okay? Let's say that you want to, in the physical world, you want to plant a mango tree so that you can eat the fruit, then naturally, all you got to do is plant the mango seed. That's the physical world, okay? Same thing with building a house. In the physical world, if your final outcome is a house, then you got to ask, what are some seed do I need to plant, right? The design, the structure of the house, the material that you have to invest in order to build a house. Human beings, we are pretty good at managing the causality of the physical world. In terms of religion and spirituality, our religion, there are different kinds of religion in the world. They also offer causality when it comes to religion and spirituality. Where did we come from? Where do we go when we die? What is the final outcome of the soul? These are the things that religion will ask and help us answer. If the final outcome is to go to heaven, then you go to Christianity. Christianity as a religion will tell you how to plant the kind of seed so that you can, when you die, your soul will go to heaven. If you're a Buddhist and you wanted to know how to achieve a state of nirvana, then religion, the Buddhist religion, will teach you how do you live, how do you meditate, how do you behave in such a way that at the end of your life, your physical life, your soul, so to speak, your consciousness will attain this state of nirvana. That is causality in terms of religion and spirituality. Okay, so if we want to know about the soul, if we want to know where the soul will go, where we go when we die, we go to religion and spirituality. And religion is pretty good at helping us with that. And then we come to human experience, okay? Human experience are the things like happiness, right? Happiness is an experience. Health, good health is an experience. Financial freedom is an experience. When it comes to human experience, on the other hand, we are pretty good at knowing what we want. Most of us want some degree of happiness. Most of us have some degree of wanting to have a happy, a healthy relationship. Most of us want financial stability and independence. Yet, when you look at the world, you look at other people, other human beings, and you wonder, gee, do they really know how to use causality in order to get what they want in life? What kind of seed do we need to plant in order to experience the happiness? What kind of seed do we need to plant in order to experience healthy, harmonious relationship? What kind of seed do we need to plant in order to experience financial freedom? Because it seems that when it comes to human experience, we are lacking something. Okay, we are maybe lacking some type of knowledge and understanding about human experience, about causality, and that is why there are not that many happy people in the world. Not that many happy, healthy people in the world, right? So the purpose of our 21-day sharing is to provide you a roadmap so that you can make the best use of causality, cause and effect, so that you can ultimately end up with the kind of human experience that we really, really want. And I believe that it's, for most people, it is health, happiness, and peace of mind, right? So, and so there's a recipe. Okay, there's a recipe for causality of human experience. Okay, cause is said to be the seed. The outcome is kind of like the fruit, right? The fruit of happiness, the fruit of health, the fruit of good relationship, financial freedom. That is desired outcome. The seed, we're going to learn how to do that. We're going to learn how to think, how to question the kind of idea we have. And human being, we tend to mistake and we forget an aspect of causality called condition. Okay, so there is a cause and condition, and then there's a cause and outcome. The condition has to do with the affinity with people. Okay, our relationship with people will help us determine the kind of life we have. Because human beings, we're not independent, we're not separate entity. We are connected to other people, whether we want to or not. We are connected to people in a positive or negative relationship. Affinity has to do with the attraction with other people, our relationship with other people. There could be a negative affinity, there could be positive affinity. So we will learn to maximize our affinity with people so that we can ultimately achieve the final outcome of happy, healthy relationship, happy and healthy lives. Okay, that's called the causality of human experience. And so, what are some um, universal principles and natural laws? One of them is the law of causality, and then the other one is called the principle of light. So last week we talked about the principle of light, and we used the idea of a dark room, and we discussed. We agreed that the best way to bring light into the room is to bring light into the room. Okay, to brighten up the room is to bring light into the room, either by flipping the switch, flipping the switch, right? Turn on the light, open the window, turn on the candle. You bring light into the room. Even a 3-year-old know how to turn on the dark room by bringing light into the room. Of course, principle of light has a duality of light and dark. Wherever there's darkness, there's no light. Wherever there is light, there's no darkness. So in theory, one can say that if you somehow remove the darkness from the room, then light would come on, okay? In theory. But we all know that is not realistic. Okay, before we get back to that, we talk about our lives. Okay, human life can be complicated. Most people have all kinds of problems. And sometimes it's difficult to solve problems because they are interrelated. But the sages have taught us that if you kind of take a moment and you just simplify it, you will notice that all problems of life either has to do with your inner being, your health, your relationship, or your finance. If your inner being, which is your mental health, your spiritual health, your mentality, your attitude, your character, your wisdom, the stuff inside of you, if those stuff are in trouble, then it's going to affect our physical health. It will affect our relationship, and it will affect our finance. But if we go to work on our inner being, if we improve our mental health, if we improve our attitude, our character, our wisdom, then it will improve our health, our relationship, and ultimately our finance as well. And we talked about how there are many people who have spent their majority of their lives working on the finance, right? Building the house from the roof down. And they neglect their health and relationship, and they neglect their inner being. And so when their health decline, they get sick or something, they have to trade money, which is a finance, for their health. Or if they spend a lot of time working on making a lot of money, right? Money, but if they fail to protect the relationship, let's say they get divorced instantly, half of the finance goes away. Okay. And of course, if a person spend a lot of time on the roof, working, building the finance, building the roof, and they don't take care of the inner being, they don't take care of their wisdom, their character, their attitude, their integrity, the mental and spiritual well-being, then usually they will experience some sort of nervous breakdown. Their health is going to go down. They will lose the relationship, and basically they can lose everything. Okay. And so we go back to the idea of the principle of light. I said earlier that the easiest thing to do to brighten up the light, to brighten up the room, is to bring in the light. But a lot of us, instead of bringing in the light, what we try to do is remove the darkness. And here, removing the darkness from the room represent trying to solve the problems of your life. If you think about it, when we have a problem, we try to solve the problem. We focus on the problem. And we keep on trying to solve the problem. And for a short time, the problem seems to go away, but our life doesn't actually improve. If we get sick, we try to solve the problem of sickness by taking medicine, go to doctor, but our health doesn't improve. When we have problem with relationship, sometimes people would simply change partner. That temporarily fix the problem, removing darkness from the room, but it doesn't make us a better person, a more attractive person, a person who has the capability of having a healthy relationship. So we'll learn about bringing light into the room using the principle of light. So how do you bring light into your room? Okay, how do you bring light into this house of your whole being? And we do that by lighting up 7 candles, 7 holistic candles. Instead of worrying about the problem of your life right now, just focus on doing this. Raise your level of wisdom, raise your level of attitude, raise your character, your integrity. Work on your capability, which is your power and influence, your physique, which is your physical health, and your material possession, your wealth. If we learn to light up all 7 candles, then our house of holistic health, our life, will be improved without us having to try and solve every single problem. Because problem is going to be there. Okay, but if you go and solve problem and after problem, there's always going to be more problem. And the more you focus on problem, just think about this, the bigger the problem tend to get. And if you solve one problem, another problem will come along. And all your lives, some people are really good at solving problem and they pride themselves on being problem solver. Nothing wrong with that, except that they are spending a lot of time and energy and effort and oftentimes pain and losses and suffering to solve the problem. And their lives don't necessarily improve overall. So we call this the house of holistic wealth, 7 riches, okay, rich in wisdom, rich in attitude, rich in character and in integrity, rich in capability and power, rich in physique and material wealth, or we can call it the house of holistic health. Healthy mental health, healthy physical health, healthy relationship, and healthy finance. Okay. So that is, that's a quick review Okay, once again, I'm very honored by all of your presence today. Thank you for those of you who are repeating, and I'm especially grateful to those who have joined me, since season one, and it is now season two. And I hope that we will be able to help a lot of people transform their lives. Okay. Does anybody want to share anything from last week? I sort of give it you guys homework. Sort of said that if you want to make the best of this journey, this process, you would do this. Is there where is my lesson? Let me see. Where's that slide on lesson? There we go. This one. Does anybody want to share any lesson that they have learned? The way we make the best use of this sharing is to talk about what new lesson that we've learned. And if those lessons have made any impression, an impression is the thing that you find immediately applicable. And then if any of that actually cause any realization, and realization are the answer that you just have that have just answered the long sought question. And Tae-An, you just raise your hand. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here again. Would you care to say something?
Yeah, good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Yeah, so the lesson learned from previous section, I very impressive about the law that we go with the currents in our life. So actually, before when I study this lesson, I very confused. I don't know whether whether in my life I'm going with the current or going against the current, because sometimes when we start to do something new, like if we start a business, for example, at the first time it is very frustrated, and it's very stressful, like it's like that we are going against the currents. But then after that, when we achieve some something in the business or some milestone, and then we feel that, oh, maybe we go with the currents. That's my feeling about this. So when the lesson I learned from you, that sometimes if we pay the price for something, which means that we go against the current. um, but frankly, in our life, maybe we have to go against the current to get something, to go with the current. That's my lesson learned from this. I'm not sure if I'm correct or not. So you correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel sometimes like this in our life. Life is not so beautiful like we always go with the current.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That is very natural. Okay, it is very, very natural for us to assume that it's very natural for us to assume that we have, to experience challenges and difficulty in order to learn the lesson. But something that I want you to think about. It is not the challenge that cause you to change or experience a transformation. It is the lesson that you've learned that cause you to change and experience a transformation. Okay? It is not the problem you encounter, it is not the difficulty you encounter that give you the value. It is the lesson you got from the problems that give you the values. We can make a mistake 1,000 times, and if we learn nothing, then we get no value from the mistakes. But if we just learn that lesson, then the value comes from the lesson. The transformation comes from the lesson, not the problem. Do you get
Mm.
it? That's why
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
saying. That's why there's a saying. And most of us are very especially, experienced people who have experienced a lot of challenges in their life, we tend to be pretty proud about our ability to solve problems. We tend to be pretty proud about our ability to learn. So that's why there's a saying, a smart person learns from his or her mistake, right? We we're pretty proud of a smart person learn from his or her mistakes. A smarter person learns from other people. Other people mistake. Because when you learn from your own mistake, you're basically paying the price, right? You pay the price of pain, suffering, loss of money, lots of time, lots of body part, lots of loved one even. When you learn from your own mistake, you pay the price. A smarter person learns from other people's mistake. Other people lose their body part, they lose their money, they lose their time. We learn from it. Right? Great.
Yeah.
Okay. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to we do want to learn from other people's mistake. But really, even so, the smartest person learned from the success of successful people. So think about it. So instead of going through 1,000 mistakes, whether your own mistake or another person's mistake, all you got to do is know to do it the right way, the right time, the first time. And
Okay.
when you think about these mistakes, it is not the mistake, right? Think about it. It is not the mistake that has any value. After the mistake,
Yeah.
after you made a bunch of mistake, and you go, it is the lesson, not the mistakes. It is the lesson. And here is also the lesson that gives you the value, right? Thomas
Yeah.
Edison tried 1,000 times to make a light bulb. He failed 1,000 times. The failure gave him absolutely nothing. But in each failure, he learned something. And ultimately, the 1,001 time, he applied all the stuff that he's learned or the lesson so that he can make the light bulb that works. So remember, it is the lesson that has the value, not the mistake. Did you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
that? So
Okay.
yeah, that's a very important key. It is the lesson, not the mistake. Okay. So two ways to learn lesson. One is through experience, right? Experience pain a lot. You can learn the lesson that way. Another way is to think about it and come up with with a lesson. Another way is just learn it from successful people. That's
Mm.
why
Yeah.
there are books written by successful people that people like to buy. This is why we're sitting here and we're learning from successful people. Okay, people who have experienced success in terms of health, happiness, relationship, people whom we call the sages. Okay, these are the masters. And so that's a great tie into today's lesson. Okay, once again, lesson. Okay, that is why,
It's wonderful, Frank. Yeah.
yeah, that
So
is why
that's why I think that we have to appreciate the
Mhm.
lesson, not the
There you
mistake.
go. You appreciate the
Yeah.
lesson, and I'm sure you did your homework. That's why, you've been thinking
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
That's why you were able to share, in a very clear way. That's why we ask you to every time we do a sharing, you want to write down or note down what new lesson that you have learned. Okay, and if those
Yeah.
lessons made any difference, made any application that you can actually use right away. And then
Hmm.
ultimately, this is where we are going to try to get to a realization. Realization is a new understanding about something that you didn't know before, a new way of thinking, something totally different. And we're going to be focusing on this idea for now. Okay. In fact, before we
Yeah.
get to that, let's talk about lesson real quick. So when we learn thing, right? Any new learning, any new thing that we've learned is a lesson, and is a lesson is considered knowledge, right? Knowledge. I'm gonna write it in the middle right here. Knowledge. Okay, knowledge. Let me ask you about this. Does everybody here know that exercise is good for your health? All right, just shake your head, give me a number 1 on the chat or a thumbs up. Does everybody here know that exercise is good for your health? Does anybody here not know that exercise is good for your health? Do we agree that everybody here knows, do we have knowledge that exercise is good for your health? Yeah? Anybody said, can somebody, yeah, yes, okay. Yeah, so somebody said yes. So we know, we have the knowledge that exercise is good for your health. Not only do we know that exercise is good for your health, a lot of us know how to exercise. Right? Almost everybody know how to exercise. Everybody knows that they can go out and run, do a little bit of a squat here and there. Everybody knows how. There are, if we don't know how, we can get on the internet and we buy books, or we can ask people. We know how to exercise. Okay? Yeah, let me ask, why doesn't everybody exercise? If we know that exercise will lead to good health, in fact, everybody in the world, would you assume that the majority of the people in the world in this modern age, your friends, your family, think about it. The healthy people as well as the not so healthy people, there are sick people out there. Do people who are sick, do they know that exercise is good for their health? With enough social media, with enough friends around, I think everybody, we can agree that we all know that exercise is good for your health. And not only that, we know how to go get the knowledge on how to exercise. Yet why are there so many unhealthy people? So, what? Okay, did you guys get that? Knowledge of something does not necessarily equate to actually having that experience. Knowledge of exercise doesn't necessarily mean you're going to exercise. Knowledge of health doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be healthy. That is because there are two types of knowledge. There is the informative knowledge, informative knowledge. Okay, there is the informative knowledge. Knowing that exercise is good for you, that's information. Knowing where to learn about exercise, that is information, getting the information about exercise. There is informative knowledge, and then there is another type of knowledge called transformative access knowledge. Okay, so there's inform and transform. Okay. So informative knowledge is knowledge that's just information. Most of us have gone through schools, right? We go through 12 grades of primary school, for secondary school. Some of us went to college. What we have spent most of our lives on doing is we have gathered informative knowledge. We get more information about stuff. We become more knowledgeable. The more we learn, the more we study, the more we have information. The more we have informative knowledge, we become very informative. Is it possible to teach about exercise and not exercise? You can teach about exercise, right? You can read books, you can research, you can write about exercise, but you never actually have to exercise because that is informative knowledge. The person who can teach about exercise but does not exercise, however, will not benefit from exercise. They will not have the experience of exercise. Do you see the difference? Transformative knowledge, on the other hand, is a kind of knowledge that will cause you to shift. A transformation, a shift. Remember the picture of a little person inside chicken to a bigger person to break through. Transformative knowledge is a kind of knowledge that will cause you to be a different person. You transform. You are not the same person today as you were yesterday once you experience a transformation. Yeah, chị Thùy Trang says some of us know how to cook, but we don't cook. Yeah. 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 Just having knowledge doesn't necessarily mean you actually experience that reality. There are some of us who have read books and books and books and books on personal transformation, on personal development. There are people who have read books on happiness, yet we're not happy. That is because we have not went through a process of transformation. We have information, we have knowledge, informative knowledge, but what we need instead is transformative knowledge. Okay, you see the difference so far? Okay, that's kind of like, it kind of ties into that lesson thing, Some people will experience mistake after mistake after mistake, and every time they experience a mistake, they'll learn something new. They will learn something new. They gather more experience, but those experience are information. They just learn more ways to make mistake or more ways how to avoid a mistake. Doesn't necessarily mean they won't actually know the right thing to do. Right? If you go somewhere and you get lost, the next time you go, you know not to go the wrong way. Great. The next time you go, you may get lost again, and you will know not to get lost. So you now have a greater knowledge of where not to go. Okay. But you still don't know the right way. It is only when you know the right way to go that you get to your destination, and that becomes transformative. Okay. Transformative knowledge is a powerful use of the principle of light. Because last time we talked about the principle of light. Your room could be dark for 1,000 years, but all you need is one candle of light. And the moment that you realize something, the moment that light comes on, then the darkness of 1,000 years pass and go away completely. Everything that you have known, the thought you have known, is gone. You have a total new way of looking at something. And in English, it's called a paradigm shift. Okay. Shift is a switch, a shift. Okay. You shift to a different position. Paradigm is the totality of your thoughts, your worldview, your perspective, the way you see things. If you can experience a paradigm shift, then your life will change. There are big paradigm shift, there are little paradigm shift. But this 21-day course, okay, our roadmap is a step-by-step process in which we try to help you experience a paradigm shift, a transformation, okay? So we're going to tie that into today. And with this last word right here, okay, realization. Okay, in fact, it is not how many lessons that you've learned. It is the realization that will make those lessons meaningful or valuable. Okay, so I'm going to begin by writing the word realization. Move this to the side. Okay. So let's use the color.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can you slow down a little bit about the
Okay.
paradigm shift?
Paradigm shift. Yes.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
see that word again?
Yeah. As I understand, is that the time, like the period of time that we transform? Is that right?
Yeah. I'll go into that in a little bit. But the word paradigm means your worldview, the way you see things, okay, the way you believe, the way you think, okay, everything that kind of go into your perspective. A paradigm shift is a change in perspective. Okay, a paradigm shift is a change in perspective. And remember, on the first day, we said the purpose of this sharing is to raise your level of awareness. When your awareness change, that is a paradigm shift. You can say this is the process to shift your paradigm or to shift your awareness about life. Okay. And so paradigm shift experience when you realize something. So I'm going to write the word realization. Okay, realization. When I say the word realization, what do you guys think about? What to you does realization mean? What are some of the things come to mind when somebody says, I realized something, or somebody realized something?
Yeah, I recognize something is happening, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you say that again?
I mean, realization mean recognize.
Recognize something, yeah. Okay. The word recognize actually mean to know again, and then cognate mean to know, know mean to know something that you supposedly have known, in your past lives or something like that. But the word recognize, realization, okay. Think of the story. We're gonna use some religion and spirituality example to illustrate this. Just gonna check real quick. There are different types of realization, different degree of realization. Okay, there is the sort of ultimate realization. I'm gonna call it total realization. Okay, total realization. And in the East, there is a story of a man named Gautama Siddhartha. This young man named Gautama Siddhartha was a prince, a rich prince, has a lot of money, has a lot of wealth, has family and all that. But one day Gautama goes out and they see, a sick person, and he experienced other people's suffering. Another day he sees an old person who is suffering, and he too began to suffer. And they see people dying. And so this prince named Gautama, he had a he experienced suffering, right? He sees other people suffering, and so he wondered, gee, why do human beings suffer? Why do people, we get born, we grow up, we get sick, we get old, we die. Why do we suffer? And so Gautama set about to find the answer to the question of why do human beings suffer? And if there is such an answer, what can we do to escape from suffering? And so Gautama went and he studied from different masters. He practiced different meditation techniques. He thought about, contemplate, he think about what the reason is for human beings suffer. And one day he sat down, he meditated, and when he woke up, he understood everything. Gautama Siddhartha came to total realization about why human beings suffer and how to escape from suffering. He became what people call the awakened one. Okay, awakened. So this is a story from India. Okay, and the word awaken means is Buddha. So in the Buddhist religion, the idea is that Siddhartha Gautama, a prince, came to total realization about the meaning of suffering and how to escape from it. Total realization, awakening. Okay, we're borrowing from the Hindu, the Buddha tradition. Total awakening. He came to total realization about everything, how the way life works. So that's one way to think about the realization, right? Through a long life process of studying and learning and practicing and contemplating, a person can come to a state of realization about everything. That total awakening, that's the Buddha. Another example I want to borrow of realization comes from the Christian tradition. In the Christian tradition, there is well, first of all, some background. In the Christian tradition, there is Jesus, right? Jesus is a man who tried to teach people. Back up a little bit back. Okay, so in the time of Jesus, the Jewish people, they were suffering a lot. Just like in the time of Buddha, he saw the world was suffering a lot. So Jesus Christ is a man who saw that his people were suffering a lot. They were suffering from political oppression. They're suffering from economic repression. They were suffering spiritually, socially. Okay, his people were suffering. And so Jesus went about, he was already enlightened. Okay, so he was already a person who knew the truth. He tried to teach people the reality of inner peace, serenity. He tried to teach people about love, magnanimity. Okay, so, and he called that the kingdom of God. To Jesus, the kingdom of God is a state of being at peace, peace and love. That's simple. He just want to teach people about peace and love. But when he talked about the kingdom of God, people mistakenly thought that he was trying to become king. They thought that he wanted to overthrow the government. So the government misunderstood Jesus and they persecuted Jesus and his followers. Okay. So here comes the story of Paul. Paul is the person who works for the government. He was trying to arrest, imprisoning Jesus' followers because they thought that Jesus and Jesus' followers were rebel. They thought they were going to overthrow the government. But when they were talking about kingdom of God, they were only talking about peace and love. And so anyway, this person who worked for the government named Paul, he was on his way to arresting Jesus' follower. It is said that he experienced a flash of light. He was hit by a flash of light. He fell off his horse and he was blinded by light for 3 days. And when he was able to see again, he was no longer the same person. He saw the truth of what Jesus and his followers were teaching. And so Paul became a Christian. And from Paul, we have the Christian religion that we do today, all over the world. Why? Because Paul was hit by light, a flash of light. Okay, so that is a sort of instant realization. Okay, he was arresting people that he thought were rebels. Instant realization. So we just call them enlightenment. And there is a word, enlighten, light in it. Enlightenment. Okay. So these are words that are associated with the idea of realization. There's a great big total realization that came out of years of trainings and learning and studying and practice that is equal to that of the Buddha. And there's the instant enlightenment that of Paul. He was just on his way to arrest people, and boom, suddenly he'll realize, oh, I was wrong. That Jesus and the Christian were all about love and peace, and they were not trying to overthrow the government. And so it turned his life completely around. And then there are the small realization that we all experience from day to day. Small, I'm just gonna say small realization, okay? And it is these small realization that help us grow, that help us change the way we live, to change the way we behave. This is how we learn. Okay, the small realization throughout the day, throughout our lives. Let me show you a small, let me share with you a small story about my own small realization, something that has enabled me to stand above life's problem. Okay, so I have, memory problem, especially when it comes to my keys, my house key, my car keys. Any of you ever forget your keys? Everybody, yeah, you forget your house key, your car key, okay? And so my house, back when I was, having a problem with this, every time I leave the house, I would turn the switch that lock the doorknob, right? The door, you turn the door to unlock the door. There's a switch. You turn the switch and it'll lock the door. And you leave, you just pull the door closed and it locks. Okay, very convenient. That's how my house door was made. I just turned the little knob, little switch. It locked the door. I pulled the door and it would lock. Of course, half the time I would forget to bring the key. My key would be in the house. I would turn the switch, lock the door, and now I'm outside and I have no key. I can't get to my car because I have no key. I can't get back into the house because the key is in the house. So I had to call my wife. If my wife is not available, I call my mom. If my mom is not available, I call my roommate. And there is the time when none of those people are available, I had to call the locksmith. There's a professional person who comes and check my ID, make sure that I'm the person who lives in there, and he would break the door for me. He would take a drill and he'll actually break the lock. He would damage the lock, throw it away, and he'll reinstall a new lock. And this happened for years, and it happened many, many times. And there are houses where I've lived in where I couldn't call the locksmith, I couldn't call my family member. I climbed into the back door. I climbed through the wall like a thief into my own house. I climbed through the back door, through the window, so I can get the key and open the door. And that was the problem that keep on reoccurring, right? You can use the analogy of darkness. I lived in darkness in terms of my memory, okay? And there was nothing that I could do to solve that problem. One way you can solve the problem is by calling your parent, your family, your spouse, your locksmith. That's how you solve the problem. Immediately, it solved the problem. But the problem of my bad memory remains. You see the principle of light? We try to remove the darkness from the room by simply solving that problem. Fine, you solve the problem right there, but the problem of my bad memory still remain. I still forget my keys. Until one day. Until one day I had a realization. I realized that for most of this time, I would be locking the door from the inside and then pulling the door shut. Very convenient. What if I switch the lock so that I cannot lock it from the inside? And I have to use the key to lock it. So I went and I changed the lock so that I have to use the key to lock the house from the outside. I have to use the key to unlock as well. And from then on, if I forget my keys, oh, I don't have the key to lock. So I just go in and get the key. And I will lock the door again. And from that day on, I have never locked myself out of the house again. My memory is still a problem, but I was able to stand above the problem. I never ever had to lock my key in the house and forget it because I always have the key with me. The only way I can lock the door is to use the key from the outside. Did you guys get that? That is a realization. It's a small realization that changed the way I open my door and keep my keys forever. I didn't solve the problem of my memory, but I forever changed the way I open the door and lock the door so that I will never again get locked out and bother my families or locksmith again. I never have to pay the price of calling people and wasting money on the locksmith. Okay, that is one way that you can solve the problem thanks to a small realization. So think about, the little time in your life that you have experienced some small realization that changed the way you behave for the rest of your life. Maybe when you first learned to tie your shoes. If you watch a kid tie the shoes, it's kind of complicated. All those strings and the wires, right? But as you're trying to figure it out, one day you realize that, oh, if you put your finger in the middle of those two strings, then it'll keep everything together and then you can pull the string. And then from then on, tying your shoes become a no-brainer. It is the realization that change our lives. Right? So let me see. So there's actually a principle to that. Okay. It turns out that I'm going to use to shorten the word realize because the realization is just too long. Okay, just realize. The sages have taught us that oftentimes the kind of transformative realization that occurs in our brain happens usually as a result of a process of inquiries. Okay. The inquiry came from questions. I question, everybody understand what question is. That's simple. What's for dinner? What time is it? How do I get to my friend's address? Simple question. Inquiries, on the other hand, are the internal questions that we have asked over and over and over. The stuff that we have been pondering. I have been asking, how do I not get locked out of the house? How do I, solve that problem? It keep on happening. I had to keep on asking the question, right? An inquiry, and the inquiry, or you can say the interrogative inquiry, right? The word interrogative. I'm gonna say interrogative. Interrogative inquiry. Okay, the kind of question that you ask of yourself over and over and over, maybe many days, many months, could be many years. The Buddha asked, what's the cause of suffering and how do I help people get out of suffering? How do I help people achieve peace and happiness? It took so many years before he came up with the realization. And so and when you realize, hang on. Okay. Right. So it is usually the direction of your inquiry that would determine the direction of your realization. Small inquiries will give you small realization. Great big inquiries give you big realization, enlightenment.
Excuse me.
Yes.
That was I pronounce inquiry or inquiry.
The noun is inquiry, The verb is
And
inquire. To inquire is to ask question. Inquiry is the process of asking question. Okay, inquiry.
inquiry.
And Phước is
Yes.
studying English, so I'm really happy to see him here every day.
Yeah.
Great for your presence, for your participation, and okay, yeah, inquiry.
Yeah.
Okay,
Inquiry. The now
interrogative inquiry.
yes, and verb inquiry.
Correct. Okay,
Yes.
verb is
Thank you
inquiry.
so much.
Yeah. Okay, I interrogative inquiry. Internal interrogative inquiry. These are the questions that we've been asking over and over and over. And there is a strong desire to have an answer. Okay, question sometimes is not that important to us. What's for dinner? If somebody don't tell you what for dinner, doesn't really matter. But inquiry, the interrogative inquiry, is a thing that you feel like you really, really have to get the answer to. And it is this inquiry that will give us the kind of realization that changes our life. Small inquiry gives you small realization. Great big inquiry give you big realization. And as we sort of mentioned earlier, when we realize something, there are three ways that we can realize something. We can realize something through experience, right? Experience. We talked about that again already. We make mistake. We encounter challenges. Sometimes we realize, sometimes we don't. We could experience, pain and suffering and mistake over and over and over and never realize anything. It is because we didn't inquire correctly. Right? Do you know any friends or family who keep on making mistake over and over and over and never realize anything? They never learn anything. You will find in a little bit that it has to do with the kind of question that they've been asking themselves and other people. Another way that we realize, or another way that we learn, is through contemplation. Contemplation. Okay, contemplation, just thinking. Self-reflection, okay, contemplation. You think and think and think and think. The Buddha did all of that. He experienced suffering. He also thought a lot. Scientists, researchers, very intelligent people spend a lot of times contemplating. However, not all contemplation will lead to realization either. Right? You could think about something all the time for a long time and you will never achieve any realization. Okay, we'll learn about why that is in a bit. And then another way to come to realization is through study. Study and practice. This is learning from the successful people. And so instead of experiencing pain and loss yourself, or instead of thinking with no end, you learn and study from the people who've already succeeded. You take the lesson from them, the positive learning lesson from them, the success, and then you contemplate about it, and then you experience it, and then you will realize as well. Okay, so there are three ways that a human being come to realization of something important. And once you realize something, okay, once you realize it, what you experience is a state of comprehension. Okay, comprehension. Understanding. Comprehension is more total and more complete than just the word understanding. Right? Comprehension. Total understanding. You realize something and you have a new understanding of the way things are, and then we comprehend it. And from this comprehension, we experience Transformation. Okay, we experience transformation. And here I define transformation as let's do new paradigm. Okay, new. Let's use the word action. New reality. Okay, that is what a transformation is. You have new thoughts, new perspective, new way of looking at things, and that informs your new action and behavior. And from that new action and behavior, you experience new reality.
Can you move
So
a
how we
little
can-
bit upward, Frank?
Yeah,
Can you move a little bit upward on your seat, your paper?
my screen is showing everything. Are you using a computer, laptop, or on the phone?
On the phone.
You try turning the phone sideways or something like that. Yeah, does that show the whole thing?
I still cannot see from the top.
Does anybody have a problem? Nobody, Marianne, you're okay, right? Don't worry about it. You can watch the review. I will record it and put it on the YouTube, and you will see the whole thing. Okay. So
Thank
the
you.
top just says transformation. Okay, if you're trying to look at the top, can you see the top now?
I can see it now.
Okay. Okay. So top says transformation, new paradigm. Kind of hard to read. PAR. Okay. Yeah. Somebody. Thank you, Ji Hua, for typing it into the chat. You just look at the chat. New paradigm, new ways of thinking, new thoughts, new action, and new reality. Okay, so that's just a theory on realization. So do you guys see the importance of, what it means to go after the kind of knowledge that give you a transformative knowledge as opposed to informative knowledge? Okay, to realize is something that we need in order to totally change our life. So we're going to focus on this part, the inquiry. Question is simple. What's for dinner? We all understand that this inquiry is the key to helping us arriving at the kind of realization that's important to us. So when we think about inquiry, inquiry. There is let me just make sure I have the correct. Okay, so with inquiry, there is a direction to it. There is the positive, and there's the negative. Okay. So let's, this is going to be easier to explain with an example that, and then we'll go back to the theory. When we ask a question of ourselves, there is a positive question and then a negative question. Positive is what people sometimes will call it optimistic. Would you agree that optimistic people tend to be happier, right? We find optimistic people tend to be happier. They tend to be healthier. Pessimistic people and they tend to be negative, tend to be unhappy. Right. So when we let's here's example. Okay, so here's an example. Let's say a woman is married to a man, and every day, instead of coming home for dinner on time, he's always late and about with his friends. He goes out to drink, goes out to bar, and he's always late. And when he comes home, the woman asks, "Why are you always late? Why are you always late?" Is that a positive or a negative inquiry? Right? When a husband is late and the wife asks, "Why are you always late?" Is that a positive or negative inquiry?
That's
Negative.
negative.
That's negative inquiry. Okay. Why can't my husband pay attention to me? Is that a negative or positive inquiry? Why can't my husband pay attention to me? Is that a positive or negative inquiry?
I think it's a negative.
You think that's more negative, right? Okay.
I think can be negative and can be positive.
Why?
Like because again you say make attention, but like what kind of attention? Like if it's a good behavior, it can be positive, but if it's bad behavior, it can be negative.
What do you mean behavior?
Like for example,
Attitude.
I mean if I when I clean the kitchen, for example, and I forgot to clean the stove. That's for example. And if my husband always make attention with that habit, for example, yeah. So that could be the negative question.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. Good.
Yeah.
Keep that thought. Okay. That's very important. You just made a point that's very important, and we'll get back to that. Okay. We're gonna get back to that. Hold that thought for a moment. Let's use another example first. Okay. Let's say you have children, and your children is looking at the phone up close like this, and you say, "Hey, why are you watching the phone so close? Do you want to go blind?" Is that positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. Okay, why?
Because lies is not good.
Blind is not good. Okay.
I think
Okay.
because
Go against
you
what
mentioned I think because you mentioned getting thick, like your eye getting gross. So you point your children to a negative side.
Negative reality. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
negative
something that
reality.
you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a principle of light, you yeah. Yes, you
Okay.
don't bring light in that problem.
Okay. So if I have the problem of forgetting my keys, and I'm saying, how can I not forget my key? So if I always forget my key, and if I ask, how can I not forget my key? Is that a positive or negative inquiry? How can I not forget my key?
I think it's negative because you use the word negative, not.
You use
I
negative
don't think
not?
it's a negative. Yes. But a positive way is say like, hey, how can I remember my keys? You know?
That's it. Okay. So Chimerian is a master of the positive inquiry. Okay. She knows how to use the principle of light. And let me share with you a scientific explanation of this. There is a real, how do you say it? There's a real phenomenon that occurs inside the human brain. Our consciousness and our subconscious, especially our subconscious. Right? Do we agree that the subconscious takes up a bigger part of our mind than our conscious, right? So, the science of psychology has been able to demonstrate that human mind, our conscious brain, is very small, but our total mind, the subconscious, plays a big part in determining how we think and how we behave and all that stuff. Right? Do we agree? It is our subconscious. So let's do an experiment together. Okay, let's do an experiment. It's a very simple experiment. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something and you try to do what I tell you. Okay, so here's the game that we play. Don't think about a big giant elephant in this room. Don't think about big giant elephant in this room. Raise your hand if you saw the big elephant in your mind.
When you say that, the image of
It's in
elephant
my
in your
mind.
mind. Yeah.
I said don't. I said
The
don't think
image.
about a giant elephant in the room.
Okay. The
Okay.
image of elephants
It
is
is-
in your mind. So when you say that,
I told you don't. How about another one? Okay, how about now? Don't think about a juicy yellow lemon.
yes, the yellow in your mind.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one, okay? I want you to think about a tiny little mouse running across the room. Think about the tiny little mouse running across the room. So did you all saw the image of a tiny mouse running across the room, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you, while you were thinking about this tiny mouse running across the room, did any of you see the picture of a chicken?
Yes.
While you were
Tiny
thinking
mouse.
about the tiny mouse, did the chicken come up? Nobody said anything about the chicken, so no, you would not have thought about the chicken.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right? Okay, so if the chicken was the darkness and the little mouse was the light, then the presence of the light, when the mind is focusing on the mouse, it has no room to think about anything else. But if I'm telling you, don't think about the elephant, then your mind is thinking about the elephant, even though I said the word don't. Because the human mind, the subconscious mind, does not know how to process the word don't. Think about that. So the next time you're at the pool, okay, and little kids are running around, and you say, don't run. What do you think they're gonna do?
Keep running.
They keep running. So what do you say to stop your kid from running? What is the appropriate way to stop the kids from running?
Yeah, slow down, walk.
Slow down and walk. You say something different that what you want. So in the example of the child looking at the phone, so instead of saying, you can say, don't look at the phone up close. What would be the right way to tell somebody to give what would be the right way to tell your child if you see him doing this? What would be the right way to tell your child if you don't want them to go blind? What will you say?
Well, tell them, like, just, I'm sorry, I just use you as an example. Like, look, you don't want to wear glasses like daddy, then, put your phone farther away, or you want to have a healthy eyes. Yeah,
So healthy
keep your
eyes
phone
is
farther away.
positive. Put a phone farther away is positive, but wearing glasses like your daddy is negative.
It's negative.
You're mixing the positive and a negative message.
Right, right.
Okay. So you're mixing. So oftentimes we will have internal inquiry. We will think about the things that we want in life. But instead of focusing on what we want, we are actually focusing on what we don't want by using this, this reverse process.
Right, yeah.
So what it turns out, what happened is this: if we let's use this color. So if you inquire or you speak in a positive manner, what you're getting is desired outcome. Okay, desired outcome. If you speak or inquire in a negative way, what you get is undesired. Oops. Undesired outcome. Okay, the universe will give you what you ask, always. The universe always give you what you ask. It is never the case that you don't get what you want. It is always the case that you get what you ask, but you may get the undesirable the outcome. Principle of causality is like that. This is the seed. The kind of inquiry that you ask, you will always get something. But you may get the undesirable stuff because you ask in a negative way.
I think that the universe will give you what you think better than what you say. The thinking is stronger than
right. So here's a question, right? So a woman who is in a relationship where her husband always come home late and she's always thinking, why is my husband always coming home late? Why don't you come home on time? Even the saying, why don't you come home on time? There's the attitude of negativity in it. What would be the right way for that woman to affect the desired outcome? If the desired outcome is for her husband to come home on time, then what can she ask of herself and ask of her husband? Let's practice. Okay.
I would say,
yeah.
Oh, honey, that could be nice if you can come home and join join us or have dinner with us.
Yeah.
Maybe at 6, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. It's that simple. Okay.
Yeah, maybe give him a time, like maybe come home early. He didn't know what you mean by early. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Yeah, I would say, honey, it could be nice if you have a dinner with us at 6 every day.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do it as a little bit more practice. So each one of you, let's see if you can come up with your own set of inquiry. Let's say maybe 4 or 5 inquiries. You can go ahead and start writing it down right now. And let's see if we can help each other determine if you if you are being negative or being positive. And if you are negative, let's see if we can shift your questioning to positive so that ultimately you're going to get what you want. Okay, you want to give that a try?
I have an inquiry, but I'm not sure that's it positive or negative.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just ask, okay? Ask an inquiry. Ask a question.
Yeah.
How do I?
I ask myself many times that
Okay.
how to make my children listen to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with that. How to make my children listen to me. Okay, hang on. So at first it sounds positive, right? There's nothing negative about that. Subconscious positive. How to make my children listen to me, because that's what you want, right? You want your children to listen to you. So you say, how do I make my children listen to me? So let me ask you.
Actually, before I had different question. My question, I think this one is more positive.
Okay.
It was how to make the children happy. That's
How
one. How to make my children happy.
Children happy. Okay.
Yes, I think that is better. But like during the time, I always make them happy, and maybe I sacrifice myself need. So now sometimes like they think they are more important than myself, and they don't listen to me in some cases.
So what question do you want to work with now? Give me the question that you actually want us to work with right now.
So the question now, the first one that I said, how to make them listen to me, because
How to
it's
make
more
them
important for me now.
listen to me.
Yes.
Okay, how to make them listen to me. Why do you want them to listen to you?
Less stress.
Okay.
Yeah.
First question is positive. Second statement, less stress. Have just
Yeah.
focused on what?
Mm,
Stress. Is that light or darkness?
That's
Darkness.
darkness.
Yeah.
So your question, how do I make my children listen to me, is really the question, how do I make less stress? Okay, that is more important, right? That is the deeper question. How do I have less stress? What's the real question? The real question is not how do I make my children listen to me? The real question is, how do I have less stress? So, how do I have less stress? Is that a positive or negative question?
It's negative.
Okay. If that's a negative question, how do we change it to a positive question?
It's very difficult.
You want to help her and Phước? Can you offer a suggestion? How do you change that to a question, to a positive question?
I think when my children looking at the phone every
No,
day.
wait. No. We're working with this question. We're working with the how do I have less stress, right? We're looking with that question, right? How do I have less stress? We have established that is a negative question, okay? So she said how, you should have, how do I have less stress? Okay, so if stress is a negativity, is a darkness, if we say how do we have less stress, we are focusing on the darkness. We're trying to remove the darkness. So, how do you change this to a positive question? So this is negative, right? This is negative, negative. Okay. So how do you change this to a positive one?
Yeah, I have
Ask
I
it
saw
different.
a sentence in the chat. How to have more peace? Is that a good one?
Okay. So how do I have more peace? Right, Duncan, did you accept that question to replace the how do I have less stress? Do you accept the light that he has offered. He has offered you a candle of light. Do you accept that candle of light to replace how do I have less stress? Or how about
Let
how can
everything
I be happy?
let
It's gonna have
everything
to-
occurs naturally.
It's gonna have to be you, Jihan, to who decide what new question you're gonna have to come up with in order to replace the question of darkness.
How do I find happiness in myself?
How do I find happiness in myself? Why do you want to find happiness in yourself?
So I can control my emotion and my behavior, maybe.
Why do you want to control your emotion and behavior?
Yeah, I saw that when I have good feeling, like I feel I can feel that the people around me is more happier when I have bad mood.
Okay, so when you have good feelings, other people are also happier,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like for the woman, especially when in our period of time, I always get mad, you know. But normally I don't have that feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we settle with the question of how can I become happier? Right. So what's the new question that you want to write down? What is the actual new question that you want to write down? That as opposed to this one. So we're going to cross this out. Okay. How do I have less stress? And replace that with the light. What question do you want to ask?
Oh, how do I make happiness?
How do I make happiness?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
How do I make happiness? Like with myself, beginning with myself, or
Yeah, but at the beginning with myself.
beginning with me? Beginning with myself. Okay. So does happiness with yourself have anything to do with your children listening to you?
Like when I'm happy, I think the energy will affect them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're happy, they would tend to listen to you more. But when you're angry and you're upset and you want them to listen to you, they're not going to listen. Well, in a couple of days, we're going to talk about the recipe for the root cause of life, where we take ownership of ourselves and our inner being, and how do we generate our own happiness. But there's a saying that I want to share with all of you. Okay. I'm going to share with you this saying, and it's the truth that the sages have passed on to us. Okay. To want to change other people is the beginning of suffering.
Suffering.
Okay. Some of you know this
Yes.
truth already. Yeah. To change other people is the beginning of suffering. Okay. To want to change yourself is the beginning of happiness. Okay? And you start with the beginning of happiness. So to want my children to listen to me is to want to change other people. That is the beginning of suffering. And if we keep on thinking along that line, we're going to keep experiencing suffering. We're going to keep experiencing undesirable outcome. But to want to change yourself is the beginning of happiness. Because ultimately we can only control ourselves, right? Mahatma Gandhi, a man of peace, told us that be the change that you want to see in the world. Okay, be the change that you want to see in the world. We all want to see a lot of change, and you get start with yourself. Anybody else want to practice, or did you want to practice with another question to see if we can turn that one around and see if that one's a positive one or not?
I think I give other people opportunity to
Okay.
understand.
I see some new people. I want to welcome Mr. Duncan, Ms. Azita. Thank you guys for joining us. Would you care to introduce yourself or say hello or join in with the discussion? Do you have a question that you would like to, an inquiry that you would like to practice?
Oh, g'day there. Yeah, I'm Duncan. I'm just new here, so I'll just say hello. I haven't set up properly yet, so I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll test it all later.
Okay, no problem, Duncan. Okay.
I want to express my gratitude. Thanks for putting on these meetings and
Hello.
for the videos I've seen on YouTube.
Okay. Who is your value
Hello,
connection?
Frank. It's Azita.
Oh, hi, Azita. Yeah. Do you want to share something, Azita? Do you have any inquiry that you want to share and see if we can help determine if that is a positive or negative inquiry?
Right now, I am fighting with a severe infection in my lungs. I've been in hospital. I just came home and I have lots of pain, but positively, I'm listening to you and enjoying. Thank you.
Okay. 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 What are you asking of yourself lately about your health or anything? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Let's see. So that's pretty much in terms of theory. That's all I have. You know, the rest of the time we can practice. That principle, where was it? That principle is called, this is a principle that is called principle of alignment with desire. That's all. That's simple. Okay. If we know what we want, you can begin to ask the kind of question that align positively with what we want and not negatively with what we don't. If you're sick and you're asking, why am I so sick? In fact, if you ask, how can I cure this sickness? That is still focusing on the sickness. Okay, I guess I'm talking to Zeta. You're fighting an infection. If you're focusing on the infection, then you're still focusing on the darkness. You are still focusing on the undesirable outcome. You don't want to get sick. All right, so let's just, let's see if anybody could, let's see if we can play the game on Azita's behalf. So instead of saying, how do I overcome this infection? How can we change the wording? the inquiry, so that it becomes a positive inquiry. Tan, do you want to try?
Yeah, maybe we can ask how to make our immunity system become stronger and stronger.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Gong. My son. You give me a snack. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of focusing on the illness, focus on the immunity. In fact, the World Health Organization defined, let me see if I can pull up the World Health Organization's official definition of health. Okay. Let's see. World Health Organization definition of health. Okay. I wonder if I can share that screen. I've never tried to share a screen other than, ooh, that one. Try that one. Can you guys see that screen? You see the World Health Organization? Yeah?
Yes, yes, we can see
Yeah,
that. Thank you.
great. Okay. So this is a World Health Organization, okay, the definition of health. And here it is. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So in this day and age, we tend to focus on disease and infirmity. When we get sick, we go to the doctor. When we get an infection, we want medicine. We are always focusing on the disease or infirmity. But even if we are able to get rid of the sickness, doesn't necessarily mean we're healthy. All right, think about this question. And not this statement. Okay, think about this statement. A healthy, do you see my, I had to go back on my, I have to go back to the,
Yes.
to go back to that, let's see, where is it?
If I'm remembering that.
Yeah. Okay. Zoom. I don't know how to get rid of out of my screen sharing. This one, okay, stop share, and then open a new share, second camera. Okay, back to that one. Okay. A healthy person is not sick. Easy to understand, right? Healthy person is not sick. You agree? But a person who is not sick is not necessarily healthy. Okay, think about that one. A healthy person is not sick. But a person who is not sick is not necessarily healthy. Just because you're not sick now doesn't mean you're actually healthy. Because I used to be sick a lot. Every year I would be sick. I would take medication. It was just a common cold and flu, and I would take medication, and I would stop the cough, and I would get over the sickness, and then a short while later I would get sick again. Because as an individual, I was not arriving at a state of health. I was simply not sick at that time. I removed the darkness temporarily, but because there's no light, the darkness just, is always there, always come back. Okay. So for Azita and anybody else who's still sick and you want to work on your health, don't focus on the illness. Yes, if you're sick, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta, if you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. If you take the medication, take the medication. But the principle of light applies. If you focus on getting healthier, you will get healthier. So while you're going about doing the medication, getting treatment by your doctor, think about what it means to be healthy. And the World Health Organization offered a definition. Health is a state of total well-being in terms of mental, physical, and relationship, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And that is why we have that picture of the House of Holistic Health. Right, there is that the four. That is why we have this area. This inner being is related to your health, related to your relationship, and related to your finance. Okay. Principle of light. So if you have not had a chance to review, please do review episode 1. If you want, you can review the season 1, but I think season 2 is going to be better. we have made some improvement in terms of our sharing and our information. So that being said, I'm very honored by all of your presence today. We have some wonderful questions today. You guys brought some wonderful questions, wonderful learning today. Okay. Did anybody realize anything? What did to end our session, we always apply the principle of brain activation. Okay, I can redraw that. You know, apply the principle of brain activation. What lesson did you learn? Okay, lesson, remember, something new. And it is the lesson that has value, not the mistakes, not the suffering. It is the lesson that is going to contribute to our life getting better. What impresses us the most? Impression. There are something that we discussed today that we can immediately use, right? Impression. And that is applicability. Let me say applicable. Okay, something applicable you can use right away. And most importantly, any paradigm shift. And we simply use the word realization for it. Okay, realization. This is a transformation. Okay, who wants to speak? What new lesson? What's applicable? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Frank. So from today, I have a very precious lesson about the small realization. So before, I just know about realization. So today I know about the small realization that is happen daily. So this is new for me. So so what I realized from this is before we just focus on what is the very big realization, like a total realization, but we forgot about the small
Hang on for a moment. Is my internet having problem or is his internet having problem? And I think we're having trouble hearing you. I think your internet just slow down. Okay, I think it's okay.
Let me try to
it's good.
explain again.
Yeah, it's good now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Repeat all that, please.
So
repeat all.
I'm talking about from daily we just focus on the the total realization, the big one, and we forgot about the small realization. It's happened very often in our life, and that's why we cannot implement it into life. So I think from now on, I will write down all the small realization in my notebook, and then I can apply it every day. So rather than I wait for a total realization, a big one come, so I will write down it every day, and that's my realization from today's lesson. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That is so wonderful. In fact, if we realize that we are constantly realizing things as we go along in the day, and we make a note of it, if we can physically write it down, record it in a video, or, just make a habit of asking ourselves, oh, what lesson did I learn today, just now? You just meet a stranger, you ask, oh, did I learn anything from that person? Did I learn anything from that interaction? Then we will constantly activating our brain. That is a principle of brain activation. Okay. And before long, we are going to experience a lot of transformation. Principle of brain activation. Okay. So, we could experience a sudden, enlightenment any day. So the more that we apply this principle, the more we review the lessons of the day, the more chances are that we will experience a realization, and the faster that we're going to transform. Okay, so instead of sticking around and waiting, there are people who experience years and years and years of mistake, and they never learn anything because they never stop to look at the lesson that they have just encountered on that day in that interaction. So chị Thùy Trang said, a lesson I learned today is that we must learn how to ask desire and intentional question, because answer we receive will reflect the nature of the question we ask. Exactly. Okay. The kind of realization that we experience will reflect the kind of question, the kind of inquiry that we ask. If the kind of inquiry that we ask is negative, we will get a negative outcome. Okay. But if we ask positive question, we will get positive outcomes. And then I want to leave you, let me think, with a with something, to help with the whole learning process and the whole going with the flow thing. We will revisit this later, but in your daily life, remember last week we had a question, how do we know when we are going with the flow or against the flow, right? Instead of worrying about whether or not we're going with or against the flow, it's like digging into the dark and determining if we're in the darkness or not. Just stay in the light. And the way we stay in the light is this. I may have posted it into the group, but I'm going to say it again. 6 golden words in action. Okay? 6 golden words in action. Very simple. 1, do it simply. 2, do it I just blank.
Gently.
Joyfully. Do it joyfully. Đơn giản, vui vẻ. Do it trustingly.
Nhẹ nhàng.
Do it with ease.
Gently.
You could say lightly. We'll just say lightly for now. Okay. I don't like to use the word lightly too much because when somebody takes something lightly, that means you're not taking it seriously. It is very seriously, but you do it lightly. And number 5, Number 5, you do it regularly. And number 6, do it wholeheartedly. So with my own, experience and reality, for many, 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 many years of my life, even up to last month, it had been difficult for me to get up out of bed in the morning. It has been difficult for me to get out of bed in the morning. I would set the alarm, and when the alarm rang, I would turn it off, and it would ring again in 5 minutes, and I would fight the alarm again and again and again before I finally get out of bed, do my morning thing, and go to work. I was going against the flow of principles and natural law. Getting out of bed is, it's for some people that's simple. For me, it's a difficult thing. Until I learned these 6 golden words in action. Do it simply. Do it joyfully. Do it trustingly. Do it lightly. Do it regularly, and do it wholeheartedly. Previously, I had been fighting getting out of bed. I made it to be something big, something difficult. My attitude was always negative. The kind of question that I had about getting out of bed is always negative. Why is it so early? Did I sleep enough last night? And then I came to a realization thanks to the studying and practicing. See, if I didn't learn this from other people, I didn't study and practice this, then I would have continued to experience that suffering, that pain for who knows how long. And contemplation, it didn't help. No matter how much I can sit and down thinking about getting up in the morning, it's going to help me get up in the morning. But fortunately, thankfully, and gratefully, I've been encountered with this knowledge, and the sages who have taught this knowledge to me also taught the 6 golden words in action. Just do it lightly. Just do it simply. Don't think too much about it. Make it simple. Make it light, and trust that it'll work. And do it regularly and do it wholeheartedly. And starting, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago, after the graduation from Mentor 5, I've been coming home. I've been able to get up before 4 a.m., sometimes 3:30. I exercise, study for at least 2 hours before I go to bed. And I've been doing it regularly every day. Even today. Today is a holiday. I don't have to work. Tomorrow is a holiday. In the United States, it is a Thanksgiving holiday. My wife said, it's a holiday. Why do you get up in the morning? I said, no, I'm going to get up in the morning early. I will keep maintaining it. I will do it lightly. I will do it simply. And, if I want to sleep later, I can always take a nap later, but I'm going to make it a habit to get up out of bed in the morning early. And I've been able to maintain that for about 2 weeks now.
If you stay up too late, how do you get up early?
I don't know yet. So what I've done is I've shifted my sleep. In the past I would go to bed late. I would go to bed like midnight, and I would struggle to get up out of bed at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and go to work. Now I get up in the morning at like 3 or 4. And by 7 p.m. I'm really sleepy. And I would go to sleep. And then I would easily get up again in the morning. Right? Whereas in the past, it was difficult not only to get out of bed in the morning, but it was difficult to go to bed at night. I was too busy. My mind was always thinking. I was busy. I was always doing something. I'd never want to go to bed early. Even though my wife tells me to go to bed early, I'm always up late and doing things. And as a result, I drag on, my waking hour. But now I've been able to shift the waking hour to 4, a.m. I naturally go to bed earlier because I was usually tired. And that, as we go along, I will share some more, ideas about health. Going to bed early and getting up early is a lot healthier than going to bed late and getting up late. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right.
Yes, okay.
Any last words before we say good night today and say see you next week? Okay. So once again, very happy that you guys taking the time to join us. I'm very grateful. I think we have a lively session today. A lot of happy faces, a lot of future mentor and masters in the room. I think there's some past master. Marianne, are you a mentor or a master?
No, no, I haven't.
Okay,
No, I
but
didn't complete anything.
okay, that's fine. But
Yeah,
you
I
know
decided
it.
to be a mentor 7.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. The title is nothing. The certificate is nothing. It is your reality, your lives, right? The way you share, the way you answer the question tells me that you have experienced a transformation already. You have already lived a better life than you had prior to learning the first philosophy. This philosophy is called the philosophy of root education. I like to call it the fundamentals of being humans. We're human beings, What better way to live than learning how to be good human beings, right? The fundamentals of being human being. Yeah, title is not a matter. Thank you, Jin Chan.
Exactly.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Frank.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Have a good night.
Thanks a bunch, my teacher.
Have a good night. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah.